Greetings. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the middle of the order. Another TOP for you today. And it is going to be the Los Angeles Angels, if you didn't already know. A team of the offseason, and not for the good reasons. Last year, they finished 73 and 89, finishing 16th in runs for, 23rd in ERA, and 25th in runs against. They were fourth in the AL West, fourth in the AL West, 12th in the AL, and 24th overall in MLB. This year in the MLB draft, they have the 8th overall pick, falling 2 spots back from what they should have had, being 6th, of course. And, let's start with who they added, and let's go with the new boss, the new manager, Ron Washington, which I love this move. Out of all of the 8 managers that are new, this is the one I'm most excited about. Ron Washington, I loved him, seeing him work first base with Atlanta. Coming over now to be the manager of the Angels, I do love that move. His coaching staff, I've seen a couple names. The one I'm very excited for, Ryan Goins. Shout out Ryan Goins. Beloved player back in the days. Not really. So yeah, Ron Washington comes over. He's the new manager. That's a key piece here. The guys they added, Luis Garcia is new. He's a pitcher from the Padres. Adam Simber comes over from the Blue Jays. Zach Plesac is probably the most notable name here. Matt Moore and Aaron Hicks, as well as Robert Stevenson and Jose Cisnero are the main guys. And then they have a bunch of fun non-roster invitee guys who, I'd expect to see some of these guys on the Major League roster. Guys like Evan White, not so much. He was part of the trade that happened with the Braves. Miguel Sano is a non-roster invitee. That's a fun name. Hunter Dozier, he's been doing pretty well wearing someone else's number 17. Willie Calhoun, Jake Marisnick, Drew Pomeranz, and Jair Edarizana. Sorry for that one. Those are all non-roster invitees, so some of them might make the roster, some of them will not. And speaking of guys who will not make the roster, these are the guys who they have lost. And it's quite the list, but some of the names aren't as notable as they once were. Of course, headlining who they lost, Shohei Ohtani. He is still a loss, just not a Angel. He is now a Dodger, of course. Some of the notable guys, Randall Grichuk, Gio Urshela, they're out. Aaron Loop gone. Jake Lamb gone. And then some of these guys, Brett Phillips, Mike Moustakas, CJ Crone, Jared Walsh is no longer an Angel. He's a Ranger, actually. Remember how good he was at one point with them. He fell off hard. Eduardo Escobar, Jaime Barria, and then, of course, in that trade that I mentioned, David Fletcher and Max Stassi, both gone as well. Taking a look at that rotation, it's some guys you know and some guys you don't. Reed Detmers leads it off according to Fangraphs here in the 1 spot. Griffin Canning, and then Patrick Sandoval in the 3rd. I disagree with that. Tyler Anderson, number 4, and then Chase Silseth is got the 5th spot as of now. The bullpen, it's names that you kind of know. Carlos Estevez. Estevez is right now listed as the closing pitcher. And of course, they got a lot of new bullpen pieces. Robert Stevenson, Matt Moore, Luis Garcia, Adam Simbar, and Jose Cisnero are all new from free agency, all for the bullpen, so they've made some moves there. And of course, they have some other guys. Of course, Ben Joyce is still around. He's listed in AAA as of right now, but we'll talk about him a little bit more later. Taking a look at that lineup. And the guys that are on it right now, Mickey Moniak in right field leading things off for the Angels. Noah Shenwell, still learning his name. He came up, he was drafted last year and then got the call at the end of last year and played really well. He's got listed as a second hole playing first base. Mike Trout in center field, what can you get out of him? Anthony Rendon at third base, what can you get out of him? Taylor Ward in left field batting fifth. Brandon Jury, the DH. Luis Renjifro, what a guy he turned out to be when he's been healthy and playing recently at second base. Logan O'Hoppe, the catcher, batting eighth, and then Zach Neto, the shortstop, batting ninth. Those two guys, fun kids for them for sure. The bench right now has Matt Thaiss as the backup catcher. One of those non-roster invitee guys I mentioned, Jair Edarizana. Of course, they chose the guy who I have a hard time pronouncing. Joe Adell, what can he turn out to eventually. And then, of course, Aaron Hicks, one of the guys that they acquired from free agency. It is important to mention with Luis Rengifo that he did get bicep surgery at the end of last year, but Fangraphs has him good to go. So far, the comments in spring training have been looking positive, so Rengifo should be good to go for the Angels come opening day. Last thing to really note here, let's take a look at the free agents for next year. A lot of them are the guys that they signed this year to one-year deals, such as Matt Moore, Luis Garcia, Jose Cisnero, Adam Simber, Aaron Hicks, and then of course the closer right now, Carlos Estevez, and then Brandon Drury has been a notable name for the Angels recently as well. Okay, so what is it here for the Angels for 2024? There's a major storyline that's going to be following them throughout the year, and that is, what are the Los Angeles Angels without Shohei Ohtani? Of course, he's been the MVP. He's, really been a huge part of the Angels organization since coming over. And has essentially kind of not replaced Mike Trout over the last couple of years, but, he's taken over as one of the best players in the league. Mike Trout needs to be able to stay healthy. Last year, he was an all-star, but he only played half of the season, 82 games, so one game over half. When he is playing, he is still a very good hitter, 263 batting average and 858 OPS, had 18 home runs, 44 RBIs, just needed to stay healthy, and I guess that's one of the key things that the Angels get to do now without Ohtani. Ohtani, as great as a player as he was, the one downside that affected him in a way, or affected the team, was that every day he was the DH. He couldn't be really anywhere else in the outfield, or he was a pitcher and a hitter. So when he's not pitching, he's hitting, and the only spot for him hitting is a DH. Now with that, now with him gone, that DH opens up for, Mike Trout, like whoever needs the off day, but you still want their bat in the lineup. Mike Trout, yes, he's getting up there in age. Fangraphs still has him at center field, but it won't be long before Mike Trout ends up moving over to one of the corner outfields, or possibly just being a DH as well. Getting the opportunity to DH Mike Trout more will help him stay healthy, will help him be on the field more. And, for the Angels, I guess that's your first big thing, is making sure Mike Trout is as good as he can be, leading this team to whatever it's going to throw at him this season in general. Last year we kind of saw it, with Ohtani's clock running out. The Angels tried to go for it at the end of the season, throw everything on the, everything that they had. They made a bunch of trades at the deadline. They went for it in a big way, and it didn't go their way. The day after the trade deadline, they went on a 7-game losing streak, and had a pretty tough August, going 8-19, and it only continued in September when they also went 8-19. They were sitting 500. They were looking good for a possible wild card chance. They went in for some big pieces, and it blew up in their face. And I think, that's the worst thing that could have happened for the Angels. The first half of the season, they were 45-46, around the All-Star break and everything. From that part on, they were 28-43 and fell off a cliff. And, it's tough now, because now you're losing Ohtani. And yes, he is a staple. He makes a team great. The reason the Angels were kind of relevant was because of Shohei. And now when you look through this team, there's some nice names. Taylor Ward's been very good for them. Brandon Drury, he stepped up, since joining the Reds and then moving on to the Angels. The young kids they have there, Nolan Shanoel, Mickey Moniak, Logan O'Hoppe, and Zach Neto. I'm going to talk about those two kids, because I love Logan O'Hoppe. If you were here at any of those episodes where I was talking about him, I have great things to say about O'Hoppe. I think he's going to be a great player and one of the best catchers in the league in the next couple of years. But I feel like for the Angels, for an identity, for staying relevant, it starts with a healthy Mike Trout, and that's what they really need to work on first. And whether that means DHing him more, doing whatever you need to do, Mike Trout needs to be healthy. And another thing, of course, Anthony Rendon is as a player you want, I guess. I don't know, Angel fans, if you're listening to this, let me know how you feel about this guy, because it's been tough. 2019 World Series champion with the Nationals, played 146 games, led the league in RBIs. He was just doing everything right, finished third in MVP voting. Comes over to the Angels. Of course, that was COVID year, played 52 games, was all right, a 915 OPS, 286, had 9 home runs. He was a good hitter. After COVID year, 2021, only played 58 games. That next year, played 47 games, and the following year, played 43 games. And when he's been playing, it hasn't been great overall. He has more home runs in his COVID year than any other year, playing a full, essentially 162. And his OPS is 712, 706 in 2022, and then 678 in 2023. And he's only getting worse, I would say. I mean, Rendon's been an Angel for the last 4 or 5 years now. And the most notable thing I remember from his playing with the Angels is when he hit a home run off of Brett Phillips in a blowout game left-handed. Like, I couldn't tell you anything Anthony Rendon has done positively in a ball game. Of course, I remember some interactions last year with fans where he threw a punch. And obviously his comments recently have been a little controversial. To talk about that really quickly, I understand his point of view of, if I was a ball player, if anyone was like playing professional sports in general, you're at the end of the day, you want to see your team succeed and you want them to win. But at the baseline, it is a job, and the more important thing should be your family, should be your friends. So he had a comment like that was kind of taken out of context. Of course, he was a little rude to the media as well that day, but he's an interesting guy. I think if he can be on the field and be playing healthy, maybe, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I was an Angels fan. Let's take a look at that pitching staff really quickly, because Fangraphs, like I said, had it listed with Reed Detmers as the 1, Griffin Canning as the 2, and Patrick Sandoval as a 3. And I disagree with that. I think Patrick Sandoval should be the ace of that staff. I think he will be the guy who makes the opening day start. He's been very good. Obviously, last year, a bit of a struggle year for him. He was 7-13 with a 4.11 ERA. And 128 strikeouts. But the year before that, 6-9, but of course, the Angels aren't anything to be winning games about. He had a complete game shutout that year. He had a 2.91 ERA, 151 strikeouts. Patrick Sandoval, to me, is the better pitcher. And I expect to see, Sandoval not in the 3-hole for that rotation. I think he's been very good. His career, win-loss record, doesn't matter, 17-37, because of course he's on a really poor Angels team, but he's a 3.83 ERA, a 6.3 WAR. He's been a good pitcher in the 5 years he's been in the league, and I think he needs a little bit more respect. Patrick Sandoval is one of those guys that, out of this Angels team, when you look at the guys, I would take Sandoval as a top 5 player maybe on this Angels staff. So we'll have to see how he handles himself through the spring, and if he ends up being said opening day starter at the start of the season. But yeah, overall, it's tough for Angels fans this year. Of course, like I said, there's a lot of fun non-roster invitee guys that, I would love to see Drew Pomeranz out of that bullpen. And, who else we got here? Hunter Dozier, if he's well. Miguel Sano, he lost about 57 pounds this offseason. So, if Miguel Sano can be kind of like that prime Twins Miguel Sano hitting bombs, I think that would be really fun for Angels fans to have. Of course, you'd have to play him either at first or third base or DH. And at first base, you got your kid. Third base, you got Rendon. DH, right now is Jury. Could it be Trout? Who knows how they want to play it out. But I think it's something to just keep an eye out for, like Miguel Sano in general, someone to watch throughout the spring, as well as some of these young kids. And I wanted to talk about specifically Logan O'Hoppe. I love this kid. Last year, he dealt with injuries for a huge part of the season. But when he's healthy, 14 home runs his rookie year, 236 batting average, that needs to get up there. But a 796 OPS. He had 500 slugging. Yes, it's small sample size, only had 182 at-bats in those 51 games. But I feel like, give him a full season, he will surprise some people. And if you're doing fantasy at all and you're getting into your late rounds and you realize you don't have a catcher yet, I mean, Logan O'Hoppe, I think, is going to be a great ball player, and I hope he proves me right, because I think he is going to be, really like one of the shining pieces for the Angels this year. Someone that we talk about when we talk about the Angels. Him and Mike Trout. And possibly even Zach Neto as well. Zach Neto, in my mind, didn't have the year that he had wanted to, his rookie year here with the Angels, but I think it can only go up from here. Played in 84 games with 9 home runs, 34 ribbies. He had a 225 batting average and a 685 OPS. Of course, he's a smaller sized guy, known for his speed and defense, but the power numbers kind of got up there towards the end of the season. 9 home runs throughout when finishing off the year, and now having kind of shortstop all to himself. I think Neto will have a good season for the Angels, and like I said, Nolan Schanuel as well. Like there are some kids to be excited about. There's some young guys. Ben Joyce. I mean, if you want to talk about Ben Joyce really quickly, this guy, we know him from his prospect days, kind of here. Didn't get a lot of opportunities last year, only played in 12 games, was kind of up and down throughout the minors, and his ERA is 5.4, and he gave 6 earned runs in his 10 innings. But, that's also taken a slightly out of context here. Ben Joyce is a flamethrower. His baseball savant page is something really funny to look at. His fastball velocity ranks in the 100th percentile. He has the fastest fastball right now in our game. He's in the 94th percentile in his extension. There's some things that he definitely does right. When it comes to pitching, of course, we take a look at his numbers. He got his debut against the White Sox in May. Was there for a small stint from the end of May to the June in the All-Star break, essentially, where he gave up 2 runs in a game against the Astros. So, not anything fair there. That jumped his ERA to 6. And then every game that he had since getting called back up in September, shutout inning against the Guardians, shutout inning against the Mariners, 2 shutout innings against the Rays. His ERA from 6 all the way down to 1.8 pretty much the end of the year. And then on the last day, one of the last days of the season, when it was Angels versus Oakland, he gave up 4 earned runs, didn't record an out, and that shot his ERA from 1.8 all the way back up to the 5.4 that it's out here. But I'm saying, his baseball savant page, when you look at his fastball numbers and look at everything that he has there, it's really something special. I think Ben Joyce will be on the team at some point, absolutely flamethrowing it. So, maybe even as a closer role. So Ben Joyce is someone to be excited about as well. So yeah, as a whole, you look at the Angels staff, you got some old guys in there, you got some disappointments in Rendon, and you want to see what he can do for a full season. I mean, if I was an Angels fan, the one thing I'd hope is for 100+ games out of Rendon, 100+ games out of Mike Trout, a healthy Mike Trout, and for more of these kids to just get more time and to develop more guys like O'Hoppe, Neto, Joyce, Schanuel, and anyone else, that so happens to be kind of there. I think it's important to kind of see what you get out of some guys, Jose Serrano as well. I think I butchered that name too. But as a whole, the Angels here could be, interesting, but I don't have the highest hopes for this Angels team. But like I said, there are players that I'm excited to watch, guys like Sandoval, and of course, like I said, plenty of times, Logan O'Hoppe is a fun catcher. Watch out for him. I think he's going to be very good. Taking a look at the FanDuel over-under here, not sponsored. They have it at 72.5, which is a line here because last year they finished with 73. So they just go one game about that. So can the Angels be just as good as they were this year or as they were last year? The answer is no, they're not. They lost Ohtani. They're not going to win 70 games. Take the under. I mean, out of all of the over and unders we've done, this is the one that I'm most confident with. Like, I'm sorry, Angels fans, you had your chances. This team, it's better than some of the teams we've looked at, but I'd be shocked if they pull more than 70 wins. I think the ceiling for the Angels is 69 wins. Take the under. I just don't have the faith. No matter how good some of these kids are, if the pitching, goes surprisingly well, I have the Angels. I'd have the Angels coming 5th in the division and being worse than Oakland. Then I would have them being 3rd and have them be better than the Mariners or the Astros and Rangers, whoever. The Angels, I think you need to be focused on making sure you guys are 4th in your division and not 5th, because that's a realistic outcome in my mind. But yeah, you know, the Los Angeles Angels, kind of on the down, entering rebuilds, but we'll see how this year goes for them. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to another TOP here. This is the second one today, so that wraps them up today. But be sure to check out tomorrow. We got 2 more teams. And yeah, thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you guys tomorrow.